Shlam Adawad, and we went through a situation there where we understood that by joining the Chassan, the Das, and the Chochma, and I think it meant in those two Malchut together, which was intertwining them together. This had something to do. I can't remember exactly what the with the blue and white tzitzis. Now here we're in the Indian here of Indian that tzitzis shenogah bisman hazeh, so the tzitzis nowadays, which are only white. The V'nivayir atach tzitzis she'anu nogim bisman hazeh. He says shehem lavan bilti techelis. They're white. There's let's just call it blue. The emes hu she'af bisman hazeh ve'ein or chochma de'iman nipsak mela'ar v'lotzeis. It never stops coming out, another shining out. But so that tzitzios and his karam im techelis, and it's the same thing like the tzitzios that we're talking about in techelis. But now we no longer have the ability to be able to do this by ourselves. But the truth is that the light of the right side, I think he's talking about the Chochmah Bina, does shine. But how they come out is by being clothed in the panemius of the tzitzis that come from the muach of bina de ima. Now, I didn't get out my book. I just wanted to, for the video, I just want to show this again, what we have here. Okay, so this would be, I think we're talking about where the chiluf only takes place. I'm not sure exactly what he means, but he's going to say it. So I just wanted to show a picture here of what these mochin look like. These are the mochin of Abba, and these are the mochin of Ima. So let me go on a little bit and see what else. I don't mark my place well when I go. So tzitzis, so here, so he says, B'Islav Shusa b'tzitzis yosech b'muach b'ina de Ima. Then according to that, then Muchrach hu sheyiyah hatzitzis, the chokhmah, that it should be the tzitzis that come from the chokhmah of Ima. Now, the reason why I'm hesitating here is I can't remember that we're talking about here just the way that Ima is normally, or we're talking about after the chiluf. The chokhmah the Ima ramos b'tzitzis the bina the Ima. So what happens after the chiluf, or excuse me, after when there's no Beis Hamikdash. It represents the tzitzit, the bina, the ima kamo, she is boiled lamada be'ez Hashem. I was going to get into that more. He says, "V'hine kedugmas mashin is bar b'tzitzia." So we explained about the tzitzis, yotze mechachma the ima that come out of the chachma v'ima. Kachu mamash b'tzitzis yotze me'arba mochin the akola b'muach bina the ima. So the same thing about the bina of ima. He says, what does that mean? So what has to be is that the real manifestation has to come from the bina of Ima, and not from the chokhmah of Ima, below Yoser, not more than that. Now, what is he saying? He's vachilik shebenehim, but the difference is like this. So, in other words, are we shining with Abba inside of Ima, or we're shining, the chokhmah inside of the bina of Ima, or we're talking about just the bina of Ima? Which are we talking about? What's the difference anyway? Because in the first case, or he says in the case of working with the Chochmah Bina, it was a 31. So he says, he says we're missing one to make it into 32. So therefore we put a thread of techelis over there, and that made that particular moach into a 32. Shehi hamalchus, which is malchus, which that is we added malchus to it. In order to join together, as we mentioned. When we talk about the bina, there was already 32 osir shlema. So this idea here, that it's already complete, so therefore it doesn't have to have an addition of a blue thread. So he says, what keneged lamed beis chutim, which corresponds to the concept of the 32, which spreads from there, Bekul and Lavan, and all of them are going to be white, because it doesn't need the concept of bringing in a malchus, because I guess he means to say, it's already there. Ki ein sorach al dechelas shuhu malchus lahashlimam. It doesn't need this malchus in order to complete them. Until what time are we going today?
6:30.
Okay, so I did the best I could to try to proofread this a little bit. So we'll see how well I could do as we go through this a little bit more because we do have time. He says, now he says, Nevoir ata hatzitzis anu noagim ata nevoir harav as inyan amochim shalatzitzis hanoagim bisman azel, which is the situation that we have now. Shehem hamuach the binda de ima shehem arba milui aki. Well, let me show that. Give me a second. Let me show that. We'll just look at the milui of the word aki. He says, let me see, Aki. Which one is Aki? Aki is the Aki is the Chasana De'ima, right? Aki is the Chasana De'ima, and in this Chasana De'ima, the Aki is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Now, I have 28 letters. Did I get that right? Aleph K, Yud K, those are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have 4 times 8. And then you have the last one is just instead of 3 times 8 is 24, and then you have 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. There is only 31 letters. So, okay, so then that's the Aki. Well, I'm still not sure exactly what he said here. He says, Shahim, what is it? Where was I anyway? Do you know which number I was on? I'm not marking it when I bring in that book. Now, where do I get that word Aki? He says, Shehem Chamuach de Bina de Ima, Shehem Arba Milui Aki. The Muach Bina of Ima. The Muach Bina of Ima should be, yeah, those are Akis. Okay, those are all the Akis. And amongst the Akis, those Akis in the Muach Bina de Ima are 32 letters. Okay, I was looking in the wrong place. Okay, so let's go on, which is Aki. So you have 32 there. So he said, so these are actually the Mochen de Bina de Ima, which is a complete 32, he said. So therefore, they're white. They don't need the blue. Whereas we see here that the tzitzias nowadays, they come from the Muach Bina de Ima. So they're coming complete through this Aki. But the truth is that also the Muach Chachma of Ima, the B'tzad Ima, but it says for the higher of the Bisman. So the tzitzis are concept of Ima, but we actually have at this time too the ha'ara that's coming from the Chachma of Ima. V'harasa Bisman Azeh b'hi kamo sheheir Muach Chachma the Ima Bisman Abayis, but so tzitzias techela Ima Lovin. So he said, wait a minute, Bisman Azeh, he says kamo she'ira Muach Chachma the Ima Bisman Abayis. So it's still shining the same way. I guess he's saying like that. Rak ha'chiluk bein zman habayis bein zman hazechad hagalus ehu shebizman habayis shehoya betzitzias chuti techelis l'lov, and there we had the mixture of white and blue. Chayse yotzes ha'aras hamochim shalchachma de'ima al yedenu. We were able to bring it down through our prayers, I guess, of what happens in the Beis Hamikdash. But now, that you only have white now. So therefore it's not coming as a result of what we're doing, but it comes by itself. So let's say which, he says that's the chiluk between them. So Lamashma, it's still shining. Al Pashita Shagam Muach HaChochma, the Ima Yotza, the higher it is going out and it's shining. V'yitzi is mucha chochma de b'tzad ima, but the mucha chochma that's from the side of ima. He says he his love shusu b'tzitzis yotzer b'much bina. But as it goes out, it has to be clothed inside of the tzitzis of ima, of the yotzer of the tzitzis. A yotzer b'much bina, the ima, which has to come from the bina side of ima. Shehem tzitzis the chuter alov, and so it's there, but it's maluvish. So mashma that at the time of the Beis Hamikdash there was a much greater gilui because we got this by our own actions directly. Now it has to be mislabesh. He's saying inside of bina. But the mash be'arnu shemuach hachokma de b'tzad ima yotze gam behislav shetatzitz bemuach bina b'tzad ima. So we said that that's the way it has to come out. He says, "B'kevish hatzitzis the hachba the ima mislavish, but tzitzis the bina the ima." So since they're clothed inside of the bina of ima shehem chuter alavan, which are the threads of white, he said the fichoch muchrosh b'chuter hatzitzis the bina. So therefore, now using that, which is the front, let's say that's the face of it, the ima shehem chuter alavan levad, chuter alavan levad, which are only white. The V'chein doimen Dizman Hazeh, he says, but therefore at this time, 1 second. He says that at this time, Gam Yihi Remes the Tzitzit the Chachma the Ima Shehem Alavan v'Chatachelus Dizman Mikdash Kayim. So you're able to sustain that idea that the Lovin, or that the Lovin with blue, is still there, but it has to be mislavish. I think that's what he said. As far as we're explaining here, be'inyan the tzitzios hayotzes mamua chochma the ima shehem etacheda v'chalav shehem arba milu Yaakov. Let me just bring that onto my screen here. It's bouncing around. Let's see. Here's Yaakov, which is the bina of Abba. Is that what it is? The bina of Abba switches over. Is it talking about after the chiluf, or the chiluf only takes place at the time of the Beis Hamikdash? I'm a little weak on that one. So he says that these are all Yaakovs, huh? Did you?
Yes, before there's a chiluf now too. So the bina, what you're looking at, the bina of Abba becomes the chachma bima.
Right, that's it. So that's right. The bina of Abba becomes the chachma bima, and we're saying here the bisman hazeh, that chachma bina has to shine, which is these Yaakos are now going to be over on the right side of Ima, and it has to combine with the Akis, or Akos, or whatever, however you pronounce it, the Akis, which are on the left side of Ima. So you have to transport the right side of Ima into inside of the left side of Ima, and that's the way it shines. That's the way I understand this. Okay, so I have that little drawing there. And let me see if I can find where I'm at. So we'll be on maybe Kuf Pei Gimel, something like that, Kuf Pei Beis. He says, Kuf Pei Beis says, Okufi Mashin is bar be'inyan the tzitzios, hayotze b'muach ha'chochma de'ima, shehem atacheda b'chalav, shehem arba milu Yaakov. He said, "Became al zeh ha-seder." So they're in this order, who ba'arba tzitzios shehem chuti ha'loven, which are just the loven levad. Hayotzes ma'arba ha'mochim, which comes out of these four mochim. Hakolulin b'muach bina de'ima, which are now the muach bina shehem arba milui aki, which is those akis that we talked about before, that we just saw in the picture, which is going to be the left side of ima. So now, at the time of the Churban, Ein bana koach lahamshek as ha'aras hamochim al rak ad bina the ima levad. So let me see. The words are to be able to stream down the ha'aras of the mochim only come through the side of bina the ima levad. Vein lonu koach lahamshek as ha'aras hamochim b'makom gavocha b'bina the ima. We can't actually bring down mochim. I guess he means individually. We don't have the koach. The tzitzis, the muach hachachmas, and the difference between the tzitzis that would come out from the muach hachachma, the bein tzitzis, the muach bina, between the other tzitzis, that come from bina, that is. Ki sham b'muach hachachma shehem arba milu Yaakov. So he wants to say it again, which are the four miluyim of Akko. He says, Hoya chaser chut echad lahashlim as a tzitzias alamed base chutim. So he goes over this a little bit more. And so he says, so that's what we did over there in order to be able to make it into a 32. Now, concept of it being a 32, he might have mentioned it. It's like the 32, I guess he says, in the Sifas HaChochmah. So it means that the way that it could spread, I guess, that's he didn't really spend a lot of time talking about the significance of the 32, except how would that work? He says that if you have 31, then you're missing Malchus. So, or the Malchus is Chaser, or you have to bring in the Techelis. So what's the significance of the concept of the 32? It's just that this is the complete, I don't know. So he says, so therefore that's what that was, that you had to add the Techelis. The Techelis Ram is the Malchus. Now this seems to be significant, but it hasn't been developed exactly what the 32 is, in my mind. As chuta techelis, and so what you're doing is you're joining the chuta techelis in chuta halavan with the chuta of lavan. Mechabrim as a malchus yachad in a mochim. So this is what you're doing. You're bringing malchus into a yichud with the mochim. So he said, let me get it. Bezos mechabrim as a malchus yachad in the mochim with the rest of the mochim. You're bringing a malchus into it. Avach b'mochim shall bina de b'tzad ima over there. Sham yesh lamed beis shlema, so it's complete. It already has 32 letters. Ve'ein sorch lahashlimem al yedera b'chut shal techelis. So therefore, you don't have to add anything to it like the chut of techelis. And once again, that's a question of is that the techelis he says represents the malchus. So that means that the 32 normally have a malchus already. That's also needs good use of development there. So now he says these 32 of the mochin that are coming out of Ima. They're actually on the mochin of Ima because Ima is not part of the chiluf. That is the bina of Ima is not part of the chiluf. It's just what it was. Shehem arba milui aki. He said rumazim the lamed beis chutim. So this is really a reference to the 32 chutim sheyesh b'tzitzit shebizman hazeh that we have right now. So let's see a little bit more. He says kuf tzadivov. He says v'halamed beis chutim shebetzitzis anoagim bizman hazeh who kulu lovin below techelis is all completely white. It doesn't have any blue in it. And since you have 32 chutim of lavan betzitzis, you know there should no haggis bizman hazeh. That is really what we're doing at this time. Shehem memochin de bina de b'tzad ima, which come from bina b'tzad ima. V'chein ein sorach el chuta techelis. So therefore, you don't need the chuta techelis. A little bit more. So ein sorach v'shechuta techelis hu malchus. Again, in other words, it's the completer. I guess, I just have to think about, I just have to compare that to the other names, which has 32 in them. This one here seems to be the ultimate recipient, so I guess you would say about the 32 names, the 32nd letter would be Malchus also. I'm not sure. So you don't have to bring in Techelis to make it complete. Malchus. Because there's already 32 in the chutim of Lavan. Okay, so we could stop here on this. I guess we got to the halfway mark more or less. And then we could come over and